Welcome to Dorking Out. My name is Sonia Mansfield, and they're all going to laugh at you. Joining me is my podcasting sister from another mister and the co-host of Dorking Out, Margo D. Hello, my friend.
Creepy Carrie, ha, ha, ha.
This week we are dorking out about 1976's Carrie, based on the book by Stephen King and directed by Brian De Palma. It stars Sissy Spacek, Piper Laurie, Amy Irving, William Catt, with the most awesome head of like permed looking blonde hair. It is a sight.
He is gorgeous.
Yes, a young John Travolta. Nancy Allen looks gorgeous in this movie. Betty Buckley and PJ Soles. I just want to go out on a limb here and say, I'm going to assume you didn't see Carrie in the theater. No, even like as we've established, my parents don't give a fuck about ratings. I did not see Carrie in the theater. I would have been like 5 years old. So no. When did you first see Carrie?
That's a good question. I don't remember the first time I saw it. I feel like it's always been a part of my life. I was a big Stephen King fan since I was like 9 years old. And I started with the short stories, and then I just started going through them. And then I've seen almost all the films. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the ones, I'm sure it was on TV one night.
Yeah.
And with commercials and all that crap, and the cleaned up version. And it scared the living crap out of me. And I've loved it ever since.
Yeah, I know I saw it in high school, also probably like a cleaned up version, but I feel like Carrie is one of those movies that every time I revisit it, something different clicks for me, and I appreciate it more and more. Like every time I see it, there's something else about it that I super appreciate, and I know that you love this movie. And and I believe you've seen all of the Carries.
I am
a
Carrie completist. If I had a time machine, I would go back to 1986 and see the Carrie on Broadway. There was a Carrie musical that was one of the biggest Broadway flops ever. There's been a couple of books about it and podcasts about it, but I just love this story. I think it's bananas, and I love it.
I'm so curious what a musical would look like.
That's a whole other discussion. Yeah,
because
what
that
they
is
did with it is just bananas. But yeah,
did they make it a musical comedy?
It's hard to say. As a musical, it was in several different parts, and basically Betty Buckley plays Margaret in there, and then Lindsay. Sorry, I'm blanking on her last name. Oh, I'm such an asshole. She played Carrie on Broadway, and they were belters. They had these big voices, and their scenes together supposedly were freaking amazing. It was just everything other than that was a big hot mess. And
wow.
They couldn't get it together. I mean, there's versions out now that do really well. They've worked on the book over the years. That would be, I need to see a version of that.
Yeah, person, you do.
And then I can say I'm a completist. But they'll make another Carrie.
Absolutely, they will, because the story is such a good story. Like, how could you resist?
Right.
There will be more. I wouldn't. Do you think they would redo the musical?
It's one of the most requested, believe it or not, and it's done a lot in high school and college productions. And it's been, what's the show that I'm thinking of? It's on CW, and it's the Archie Gang.
Oh, Riverdale.
Riverdale. They've done a lot of musicals on Riverdale, and like this is one of the ones they've done.
Oh.
And the music that it's over the years, the show has changed tremendously since its Broadway version. And it's really, really strong. It's just a great story. I mean, it's teenage angst at its finest and deadliest.
And I have to ask, like, because you have seen all the different movies, what are the other movies like? Because I have never seen the other ones. I've only seen this one.
Well, so after this, we have Carrie 2, Prom Night. That's not a great one.
Okay.
And then we had one that was done. So it's 2002.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It's with Angela Bettis. She was in a few horror movies, and she's just amazing. We have Rena Sofer is in there as Miss Desjardins. Patricia Clarkson is Margaret White.
I love Patricia Clarkson.
Yeah. This one has a lot of very young actors, like teenagers playing teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a crapshoot when you have teenagers acting, because some are really good and some are, that's why a lot of movies, when they have a high school story, they usually hire like 25-year-olds, like
right.
people who've been acting for a little while, and they just have everybody that age. Yeah. And then there was the 2013 with Chloe Grace Moretz and Julianne Moore. So the one from 2002 with Angela Bettis, actually with that one, they were going to turn it into a TV series.
Right.
And that one,
I remember this.
Carrie and Sue Snell in the TV series, that one was played by an African-American woman. Carrie, they kind of get together at the end after Carrie goes through her meltdown, literal and figurative, and then they were going to, like, on a TV series, like, go across the country and I don't know, like, blow up gyms. I don't know. But they were going to be like this Thelma and Louise with psychotic, with telekinesis. That's what it was going to be.
They're just going to proms all around the country.
Yeah, and just fucking with the the Chris's out there. Then they have the one from 2012. What did I just say? 12 or 13?
13.
Yes. Okay, so that's with Chloe Grace Moretz.
And Julianne Moore. Yes.
Julianne Moore. I think, so of all the Carries, and we have
Judy Greer's in it.
Judy Greer's. Yes.
Okay.
It's got great people. I don't know how to say it. I still go back to the original. Mm-hmm. The original Brian De Palma version, and there's plenty that's wrong with it, and we'll go into that.
Right.
But the performances, I think it's much more even. I think everyone's really well cast and really does the job well. Mm-hmm. I think there's also kind of a weird sense of humor with it. I think the other ones are always very serious. Yeah. And it's a very sad story. So just going back to the novel, Carrie the novel's it's his first novel. Yeah. Your first novel is not going to be your best novel for sure. I am not the biggest fan of it. Because in the novel, they do a lot of like Dateline, Portland, Maine, this psychic phenomena happened. And they're really into that.
It sounds confusing.
It is. And there's this time in the 70s, there were a lot of horror movies about telekinesis and psychic powers. And there was this thinking, and government studies were about this. There was this thinking maybe this is a power we can harness and we can use, to defend America, to whatever. There's always going to be, when you have something like that that's unknown, there's always this fear well, how can it be abused? Because it can always be abused and hurt other people. Right. And anyway, so there were all these stories about psychic phenomena that happened in the 70s. And this is when Stephen King is writing his story. And it's basically stories about him teaching in the late 60s, early 70s. He taught high school English, and he had several students over the years that made an impression on him. And one of them was a girl that just was kind of somebody picked on, and everybody picked on this girl. And she died a few years after high school. And then he sort of gave her this backstory and created Carrie. And then in the story Carrie's mother and father were religious fanatics. And then the father, I forget if he leaves or dies, but he's out of the picture. And then Margaret White is raising Carrie. And Margaret White is really Looney Tunes. Right.
In the movie, the dad left for another woman?
Yes. Yeah. I think. He's out of the picture. He's not a part of Carrie's life. And Carrie's mother has a lot of issues about sex and about there's a whole story, and she can't wear clothes that show her arms, or she can't wear mini skirts, or she can't wear a two-piece bathing suit. There's all kinds of ways she tries to keep Carrie under her spell, in her house. And Margaret is in the world wearing all black outfits and doing sewing for people just to make some money. And she's constantly raising money for a charity, but it's really just to pay her rent. Yeah. And the whole neighborhood, everyone knows that she's a kook, and they feel sorry for Carrie. But then Carrie is also so socially awkward that she frustrates people. Yes. Now, when you have the 76 movie, you put Sissy Spacek, who just a few years before was like the homecoming princess at her Texas high school. She's beautiful.
Yes.
I mean, not a stitch of makeup on her face. And she's just like a Breck commercial, like a Breck girl. She just looks so beautiful.
Oh my gosh, a Breck commercial. It's such a good way to describe her.
That her and William Catt, like they could be a Breck commercial.
His hair is
holding hands, running through a field.
Yes.
And I'd say, I need that shampoo. Whatever they're using, I need it. In the movie, she's just, the whole idea is like, well, if you just have really low self-esteem and a crazy mom, you could be picked on, which, by the way, that's true.
I feel like there was a Carrie in every school.
Sure.
You know, and for boys and girls, that people were just shitty to all the time. It's really sad. It's awful.
It's a sad part of human nature. And this is back when we don't have social media. So there's no other place to make friends. It's like there's no charter schools. There's no, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She should have been homeschooled, but Jesus, can you imagine what Margaret would do to her there?
Oh my God, she'd be even more fucked up.
Yeah. And in the book, so she gets her period and she freaks out because her mother didn't tell her what a period was. She gets sent home. Her mother beats her and she puts her and locks her in a room under the staircase, you know, to punish her when she's out of line. And Margaret is getting crazier and crazier because she realizes her daughter's growing up. The menstruation brings out her telekinesis to like a whole new level. So Carrie figures out she can move things with her mind.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, Sue Snell and all these girls, they attacked her in the bathroom when she was crying in the shower.
So fucked up.
It's just such a mean, fucked up thing to do. But they threw tampons and maxi pads, and they were gigantic maxi pads.
Oh my God, you could hurt someone. You could poke her eye out with that.
You could take someone's eye out with that, or you could put them on your knees and then use that for, you know, skateboarding. You'd be okay. I mean, this stuff was thick.
They didn't even have wings yet.
No, they didn't have wings yet. And so Sue is a part of the group that makes fun of Carrie. And Sue is actually a really good person. But people get swept up. Mm-hmm. And she's young. And she's dating Tommy Ross, who's like the school champion, like the just good looking guy. Everybody likes Tommy Ross. So they're a couple. And Sue feels so bad about what happened that she says to Tommy, I want you to take her to the prom and give her a good time. Like, make her feel included. And Tommy is such a decent human.
Yes.
Because he did not like what she did. He was very upset. So he does it. And this pisses off Chris Jorgensen, who's just like, Chris is the mean girl.
Oh my God. And she is the biggest bitch.
She's such a bitch. Her parents let her do whatever she wants. Yeah. They have a lot of money. And so she just lords it over everybody else. And when it turns out, when they find out that when the school finds out what happened and who was the ringleader and blah, 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 instead of suspending them, which they should have, mm-hmm. they say, we'll let you go to the prom, but you have to do a detention for a week, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
That's not fair. But of course, Chris has a fucking meltdown about it.
She's such an asshole. She's like, I did this awful thing. I was actually the ringleader of this awful thing. I absolutely refuse to deal with the consequences of my actions.
Right.
And yeah, she like walks out on the detention. By the way, Nancy, like I said at the top, Nancy Allen looks fucking amazing in this movie.
She's a stone cold fox.
Stone cold fox.
Filled with beautiful people.
Yes.
Like she stands out. Yeah, she's
for
gorgeous.
sure. For sure. Like I honestly like never thought about Nancy Allen like that, like in later movies. Like she's smoking hot.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. She has a boyfriend who looks like he's a few years out of high school, and Billy is a fucking psycho.
Yeah.
And he's mad on her behalf about what's happening. So he feels like they really need to punish Carrie.
Yeah.
And the basic idea is it's Carrie's fault because they were mean to her.
Yeah. It's so fucking shitty.
They all go in on it. Yeah, it's so shitty. She goes up and then they go to the prom. They somehow win prom king and queen. And then she realizes that, so Chris and Billy take pig's blood and they put it on top of the stage in the rafters,
yeah.
which is pig's blood, and they're dumping it. Now in the book, she's very chubby. So I think it's a double entendre.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's a specific reason why they use that versus chicken blood.
Because in the movie, I was like, first of all, the Nancy Allen character and her boyfriend is the like young hot John Travolta, who apparently doesn't know how to drink out of a can. I don't know if you noticed that rewatch. I was like, dude, how is it you're drinking out of a can and you're still like spilling it all over your fucking face and everywhere? I was like, what a weirdo. Anyway, they go to their joke is their practical joke. Their revenge involves like full on slaughtering a pig, like breaking into like a pig farm and killing a pig in the most gruesome, fucked up way. Taking all of its blood and I'm like, why don't you just get some red paint or something? Like, what the fuck?
That's the Stephen King twist to it. It's because it should be red paint or something.
It just shows like how fucked up they are.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. They win. The bucket lands, and in the story, I believe in the novel and then in the movie, he's knocked out by the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't help her. And this is a thing, like, do people laugh at her or does she think they're laughing at her?
That's what I was confused.
That's the question.
Yeah, in the movie, it looked like some people were, but
most people were horrified.
Yes.
But in Carrie's mind, it goes back to her mother saying, they're all going to laugh at you.
They're all going to laugh at you. They're all going to laugh at you.
Don't go to the prom, Carrie. And by the way, Carrie's getting dressed up for the prom, and her mother is like walking around the house, hitting herself, like beating herself up.
Yes.
Because she doesn't want her daughter to go. She's worried something's going to happen to her. She's worried she might have sex. Like there's all kinds of things that Margaret is not handling well. But she goes.
Yeah.
And then she gets dumped with the blood. And then this is when it all comes together.
Oh, it's so fucked up.
It totally holds up.
Mm-hmm. That's some scary shit.
Type of music that, the ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
And the doors shutting. And now they're all in the room together. And Sissy Spacek wore the makeup, the body makeup, the paint and the blood on her. She slept in that for 3 days.
Oh my God.
Because she didn't want them to have to redo it.
I love how they did that. The whole scene with like, even before the blood comes down, how she's up there and she feels like they've accepted me. I'm part of this group now. I have people who care about me. And the music is so happy. And then it's cutting to like the blood and the music changes and it's tense and then it cuts back to Carrie and she's like, yay, thank you, and she looks so happy and she's gonna cry, she's so happy, and then it's back to the blood and the music changes and I'm like, wow, it's like it's so tense. And then they do this split screen so that you can see Carrie the whole time when she's doing these fucked up things.
Right.
It's so well done.
She lights a fire in the place. She has the furniture smashing all over the place. Miss Desjardins, who was always nice to her, she has her cut in half, basically.
Yeah.
There's a fire hose that hits PJ Souls, and apparently it was so intense it busted an eardrum on her.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was really hardcore. And then Carrie gets out, so she's trapping all these kids that attended the prom that were still in the building. They were trapped in there. She walks away, and then Billy and Chris is going to run her over. Billy is riding side saddle.
Seriously, what the fuck? I'm like, now your joke has turned. Well, to be fair, Carrie did set fire to their school and murder a shit ton of people, but also now Chris is like, my joke didn't work out. I'm just going to start murdering people now. I'm going to run her over with my car. It's crazy.
Carrie maybe doesn't have a lot of social graces, but I feel like having murderous telekinetic powers more than makes up for it. I would be totally okay with that trade. And it's probably really good that I can't do it. I am totally Team Carrie here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, there's a lot of people in that room that I'm like, yeah, well, maybe you shouldn't have been laughing.
You know what? Those girls should have been suspended and not able to attend the prom. That's that.
Right.
And maybe there would have been something else that they would have tried on her. But if they had done that and shown those consequences, I think people would have left her alone.
Yeah. The gym teacher didn't deserve that end. And
no, that's her psychosis. Too.
Yeah. The principal did, though. He should have remembered her name. Fuck that guy.
He couldn't even remember her fucking name, so goodbye.
Yeah.
And also the English teacher, you know that scene where they're reading poetry? Yeah. And she says, "Oh, it's beautiful."
Yeah.
And then he goes,
"Oh,
I'm like,
it's beautiful."
fuck him.
Oh my God. Even the teachers are
Such
shitty.
a dick. Yes, shitty. Everyone mocks her. Everyone wants to feel superior to somebody, I guess. But so Carrie walks home. Chris and Billy, bye-bye. Their car flips over.
Yes.
She comes home, and then there's lights, candlelit everywhere. And Margaret and Carrie goes up the stairs, just calmly takes a bath. And then her mom shows up. And she's like, you know what? The first time I had sex with Dad, I loved it. And then I got pregnant with you, and then he left. And it's your fault. And blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Long story short, she's nuttier than a fruitcake.
Yep.
And she's ready to stab her daughter. Like, this is the thing she needs to do.
Yes.
Because she's unleashed evil on the world. Carrie is not having it. So Carrie has all these objects flying, knives and peeling things and shit like that. Kitchen utensils.
Yes, impales her own mom. Her mother. Yeah.
Yep. In a Christ-like pose.
Yeah, it's not obvious. She looks just like the crazy Jesus statue.
Yes.
And Carrie's like
closet.
Yeah, closet.
And that's when I'm sorry.
No, just go ahead.
Okay, so Carrie takes her mom in, and that's when they hear rumbling from the house, and the house basically caves in on itself.
Mm-hmm.
One person that wasn't killed was Sue Snell, because Sue had her boyfriend take Carrie to the prom. Sue went to spy on things a little bit, but got kicked out, and that's the only reason she's alive. Her mother, Priscilla Pointer, is the real mother of Amy Irving, and she's playing her mother in the movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's on the phone with a friend, like, yeah, she sleeps a lot. The doctor said she'll get over it in a couple of weeks. I'm like, she's not going to get over this anytime soon.
No. She's so young, she'll forget. I'm like, she's not that young. She's 17. And I think we've all forgotten the shit that happened in high school. What? No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I can barely remember it. Come on. But the best scene of the movie, the reason this movie wins me over every fucking time is there's a dream sequence where Sue is placing flowers at the house where Carrie is running in hell as somebody bites in with a poster board.
Dude, she's being fucking bullied even in death.
Exactly. They won't leave her alone in death. Rots in hell. Like, it's a little sign, like a for sale sign on the house. And as she's leaning over to put down the flowers, the real Sissy Spacek hand, it comes up through that and grabs her arm. And then she wakes up screaming the fucking,
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It is a really good movie. It's tight, too. There's not a wasted scene. No. It just fucking moves. And
it has some laughs.
Yeah.
They have like that scene where the guys are trying on tuxedos and they speed up the film. They do try, and it does feel like a real high school. Even though everyone's 25.
Right.
It still rings true to me.
Yeah, the emotion is right.
Absolutely. PJ Souls with the red hat. How cute. How cute is she?
PJ Souls is so cute. She's adorable. Everybody drink.
Adorable.
Yeah. She plays a real fucking prick, but she's adorable. It is bananas to me that this movie was nominated for Oscars. And it's not because they shouldn't. Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie were both nominated for their performances, as they should be. But it's fascinating to me that it was even nominated, because this is just not the kind of movie that gets Oscar nominations.
Horror movies do not get Oscar nominations.
Yes.
And this had a lot of blood to it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's boobs. There's a shower scene. That's if you think about it, like, are we filming teenagers like taking showers? And there's that level of ick. And also, this is not how women act in a locker room. I've been in many.
I wrote this in my notes. I'm like, first of all, I'm like, who's taking like long, steamy, soapy showers in the high school locker room? I'm like, I didn't see anyone else doing that, but it happens a lot in movies.
They have all this, they think we have like all this time to like luxuriate. It's like, we either have to catch a bus or we have to catch class. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's no time to, and we're not running around striking each other on the ass with a towel. It's so ridiculous. I mean, how he talked these women into doing this is just,
they're all just,
it's a De Palma.
Yeah, they're all running around naked. This is back in the 70s when like women had a full bush.
Merkin, yeah.
Like, I'm like, oh yeah, the 70s. Yeah, woo. They all look like they've got William Cat hair in their crotch. And like, yeah, she's taking the long, sexy shower, and I'm like, oh dear. But I felt so bad for her. I know a lot of friends of mine have told me stories over the years about like they didn't know about periods and then they get it and they think they're gonna die. It didn't happen like that where they were then pegged by tampons and pads and things like that, but like they're like, what the fuck?
Even though even when you know it's going to happen one day,
yeah,
it's still a shock when it happens.
Yeah, it's scary.
There's not something else. There's no other symptom that you get and then you have it.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what I mean? It's just like it shows up one day, usually at school, usually the day you're wearing white jeans.
Of course.
Or something like that.
Of course.
Yeah. Scaring away all the men from the podcast all of a sudden, but too bad.
Well, and like with it comes the you're a woman now, which, you know, they talk about in this movie, but also it's a responsibility. It's like, here's one more fucking thing for you to deal with now. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, now you can get pregnant.
Yay.
Might be able to get pregnant, but so watch out for that. Yeah, and she's never been told about it. I mean, there's different ways. People have different interpretations of Carrie, and there's one of this, I think I talked about this Patrick Bromley of F This Movie. We talked about this. And Angela Bettis is a really good Carrie. She is that interesting combination. She was also in Girl Interrupted.
Oh, yeah.
She's a really interesting actress. And then there's this level of like, how do we make Carrie pathetic and yet we care? It's very hard. It's, you know, you want to, and she really does that well.
Yeah.
I think Margaret White, so Piper Laurie, when she made the 76 film, she hadn't been in a movie in years. I think she just got divorced and then took on this movie. She thought they were making a comedy.
Yes.
She did not know that this was serious. And she was shocked when she saw the film. Because to her, it was just a goof. Like, well, and
that's what works about it.
Yes. She's so nutty and so proud of it.
Yes.
And so pious. And I love it when she goes to Sue Snell's house and her mom is like having a drink in the middle of the afternoon.
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that. Can I give you a few dollars?
She is super crazy and super over the top. And I think that character should be like that. And so I like that she played it that way. And I read that like she quotes these Bible, like quote unquote Bible verses, but they're not really Bible verses. She just says them with such conviction that you think they are, but they're not. It's just bullshit that she fucking made up. I'm like, what? Oh, she's crazy.
She has her own backstory of crazy that she's living with. And so poor Carrie just doesn't have a chance.
No.
When people want to redo this, I mean, sometimes they pick, like I said, younger actors to actually be teenagers. So it could be more horrifying, but it's like, but if they're not great actors, it's not horrifying.
Yeah.
There's just certain ways to handle. I don't know why. It's like practical effects that they use in 76 work.
Mm-hmm.
When you try to, like, they do a lot of digital effects in the 2002 one, and it just doesn't quite work. And then also the fact that they're turning it into a TV series where Sue and Carrie just like drive off together.
Right.
The Chloe Grace Moretz version, she's really good. I don't think Julianne Moore plays crazy Margaret White as well. She's too glamorous. There's something too polished about Julianne Moore for me.
That makes sense.
But they're fine. I mean, of course I watched them.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
Of course I'm going to watch them. I mean, that's all there is to it. But I just feel like the original really holds up.
I think it does too. Like I said, every time I watch it, there's something else I appreciate about it. This time it was Nancy Allen, and not just because she's a stone cold fox, as you said, but like I actually think that character is really interesting on this viewing that I just had never picked up before. In that, you know, not only is she not taking the consequences of her actions, but how many times does Nancy Allen get slapped in this movie? Yeah,
there's a lot. Yeah, there's domestic violence. I mean, John Travolta slaps her a bunch of times, and then so did Miss Desjardins.
Right? Even the gym teacher's like, fuck off.
Fuck off. Everyone hates you. There's that, and there's also a scene where John Travolta adopts a black scent.
Yes.
Which is like not great. It's racist. It's
racist, but it also feels in character to me.
But his character's a shithead.
Yeah, so, he fucking sucks. Like, this does not surprise me.
This is the guy who killed a pig and slit its throat and took all of its blood for a goof because his girlfriend's mad about something.
You know these characters wouldn't get vaccinated.
No, they're not going to do that. They'll have a word with the manager.
I'm not wearing my mask. That's your problem.
Your HIPAA violations to them.
Nancy
Nancy
Allen would like you to join her MLM. I like coming up with a future for these characters that died a horrible death.
No, Billy wears a MAGA hat.
He totally does.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like it's all everything old is new again. Yes. I mean, it's just being played on TV, the cleaner version, it caught on. And then it became this musical on Broadway, and they tried it out. It was a production with the Shakespeare Theater Company in England and America.
That is so cool.
So
I love that they tried it.
British. Oh yeah. But it opens, they opened it at the Shakespeare Theater way up there in England, the real thing. And it opens with these girls in 80s aerobics outfits, but they're not really. And they do like this aerobics routine, and it's supposed to be like the gym scene, but instead of playing volleyball, they're doing aerobics. Mm-hmm. And it's bananas. And then the big line is Carrie White eats shit. And then it goes to the next scene. When they had Lindsay and Betty Buckley doing their scenes together, it was just this dark stage with just a light coming through a window, and that was it. And you see those scenes with them, and it's amazing, like, because they could really sing and they're really good songs. And then they do this, they go to the next scene, and it's a bunch of teenagers in cars, and they're playing like 50s doo-wop music, and they're making out. And it's just like tonally, it's all over the place. And it was so bad that some people said they showed up and like there was booing in the crowds mixed with cheers. I've never heard people boo a crowd. I've been to so many bad shows. I would love to go to a show where people were booing. Like, it would kind of make it exciting, but it didn't catch on. And then over the years, just time and became kind to it, I guess, and people wanted to try it again. And now the versions that are out are very different. But it's the same theme of like picking on someone who feels left out and dumped on, and they have this murderous talent that can help them get through. Yeah. And I cheer for that.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's Lindsay Hatley?
Yes. Hatley.
Hatley. There you go. I would watch the musical for sure. I'm
put it
just
up on
wild about
YouTube.
Carrie, and she's just wild about me.
You can find clips on YouTube, and then they get taken down, and then somebody else will buy a copy. It's like a whole subculture. I have friends that are into this, that are into Broadway shows, and like they buy cassette tapes from each other from the original soundtrack. It's a whole thing.
So the Carrie musical is like the Star Wars holiday special that everybody's so obsessed with and makes fun of, but then everybody wants a copy of it. And it's like, it's traded all over the place. And when it shows up on YouTube, it's immediately taken down, and then someone else does it, et cetera, et cetera.
Exactly. There's very few copies you can get of the Broadway production. There's one you can find where someone was in the very back row. And it was like the last night, and they only have the first half. They don't have the second half. But they were working the show the whole time. And it could have been something great if they just had more time, but you never do. They always, you have that little sliver of time where you get a space. And if you're not making money, they just take them out.
Well, I hope they give it another shot. I'd love to see it.
I would love to see it.
I'd fly out and see it with you.
Yeah, man.
There's something else I loved about this viewing, was that I guess I hadn't picked up on it before, was how it's the female characters in this movie that are driving the story. The men in this movie are mainly being manipulated by the women. So like there's Carrie and her mother, and there's like Amy Irving, who's like getting her boyfriend to take Carrie to the prom, and the gym teacher's trying to help. The principal's an asshole, can't even remember her name. And then of course there's Nancy Allen, who is like, she's using sex to get Billy to do her bidding, basically. Like, but it's all these different women and their relationships. And I just hadn't picked up on that in earlier viewings because, I don't know, maybe I was too young to get it, but.
People always like to say nowadays, like, with bullying and stuff, it's so hard. It's like, it's always hard. It was always bad. It was always,
High school still fucking sucks.
It really sucks a bag of dicks. I mean, it is not fun for most people. When I meet people who tell me they had a great time in high school, I just stare at them like,
I'm like,
what are you talking about?
No, high school fucking sucks. I wouldn't go back to high school for millions of dollars. Like, it's the fucking worst.
Honest to God, yeah. I only been to a couple of reunions. I stopped those a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Middle school, too. School, high school, the fucking worst. Yeah.
I also moved because my dad worked for IBM. So we moved every few years. So I was been to a bunch of different schools. So, I mean, I have friends that are really attached to Ridgewood High School. And they're like, aren't you going to go to the thing? I'm like, no, we moved away. And then I went to college in the West Coast. And, I made different friends. It's not the center of my world. But when you're 15, 16, where you go to school, it's just kind of, it rules your life.
Yeah. I just, and this is just me. Like, a lot of people have made friends in high school and they have those friends forever. I was not one of those people. Like, I have friends that I made in high school that I'm friends with, like, on Facebook, but they're not active in my day-to-day life.
Same.
Like, that's just me. Like, like I said, other people made those friends and they're lifelong friends. All of my lifelong friends I met at my movie theater job when I was 17. So kind of like high school, but not. But
not, because you have common goals, and everybody has to sweep the floors, everybody has to clean the bathrooms, everybody has to wipe the counters.
Yes. That's what it was. At the movie theater, we were all wearing a uniform. So, and you all had jobs, right? So it was like the great equalizer. Like, there were no cool kids at the movie theater. We're all goobers. We're all wearing the uniform with the vest and the bow tie, and it was just not a thing. There was no like hierarchy that way at the movie theater.
No,
so
I worked in fast food, and it was in shout out to Glen Rock, New Jersey, but it was in Glen Rock, New Jersey. And like my high school, like it was such a rich school that like a lot of kids didn't have to work, but the other schools in the area, those kids did. So I became friends with them. So I didn't give a shit about my high school. I knew about Wyckoff High School and Fairlawn and all that stuff, but I didn't really care about mine as much. But it was say, look, we all had to clean the bathroom. We all had to like, or work the salad bar, or you had to deal with a mean customer, or you had to, oh my God, avoid. Do you ever avoid a sale? Such a pain in the ass. You got to get the manager. They got to like, okay. But it's like you said, and the dumb uniforms.
Yep.
And sometimes that's how you spent your Saturday nights. You weren't, partying. You were working.
Yeah. That was our busiest time. You worked Friday night or you worked Saturday night. You're working one of those nights. Like that was the thing. Yeah.
But I liked having my own money.
Yeah.
I liked having my own little bit of independence with that. So I thought it was great. I mean, it humbles you and all that. So not all teenagers are terrible, but yeah, if you all have a task.
I'm really glad I didn't have a murderous power when I was in high school, because I would have fucked some shit up.
I'm totally on Team Carrie.
Yeah. Like I would never say that I was a Carrie. Like I tweeted after watching Carrie last night. I was like, hey, I took one of those Sex in the City quizzes and it turns out I'm a Carrie. And I had like a picture, and I put a picture of Carrie from the movie Carrie.
Because you're clever.
Because I'm so clever. I'm clever as fuck. And I was definitely like a bit of a goober in high school, but like not to a Carrie level. But I definitely had my bullies, and I would have fucked them up. I would have.
Same here.
100% wished death on my bully. I was like, my life would be better if this guy Chuck got hit by a bus on his way to school. Yeah.
Okay, here's a crazy question. This is gonna get dark. Did anybody die in your class?
Somebody killed themselves in my class.
Oh my God.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. There in ninth grade, there was a girl that got hit by a car going home from a party.
Oh,
and
man.
And then the senior year, there was a girl who got hit by a train.
Shit.
She drove her cars in Ridgewood. It's the train stop. And at the time, you would hear the whistle, the bells, like they would make that sound, but they didn't have a wooden thing come down to prevent you from crossing. And so a train went by and she saw the bells, and she just in that second thought, oh, the train is just leaving. I'm just going to keep going, because you don't want to stop at the end of a hill.
Yeah.
And then, right? So she just kept coming, but she didn't know there was a train coming from the other side.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's awful.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was really bad. And she was really nice people that everyone was nice to. She was really cool. Yeah. But yeah, isn't that a gruesome thing to deal with?
It's so gruesome. Yeah. The kid that died in my class, he wasn't a popular kid that I remember. Like that probably contributed, and it's sad to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally bananas. Sissy Spacek and Piper Laurie were nominated for Oscars, and I thought you'd like to know who else was nominated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for Best Actress, Sissy Spacek was nominated. Also, someone named Marie Christine Barrault. She was in a movie called Cousin Kazine.
Oh, Kazan.
Oh, okay.
That's that becomes Cousins later.
I know that one.
Yeah.
Talia Shire for Rocky.
Talia Shire.
Thank you. Liv Ullmann for Face to Face, and then the winner was Faye Dunaway for Network.
Faye Dunaway is great in Network.
She is. Faye Dunaway's also Stone Cold Box.
Yep.
And Best Supporting Actress, Piper Laurie was nominated, obviously. Lee Grant for Voyage of the Damned.
Stone Cold Fox.
Yep. Jodie Foster for Taxi Driver.
Creepy movie.
Yep. Jane Alexander for All the President's Men.
Yeah, she's in there for like 2 whole minutes.
Right. Well, funny you should say that, because the winner is Beatrice Straight for Network. And she is also in Network for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was really good in that.
She was. I mean, like, all of these people, actually. Quite good.
Yeah.
That's a good year.
Do you want to hear some of the top songs of 1976?
Yeah.
Such a good year for music. Elton John, Kiki D, Don't Go Breaking My Heart.
I love that song.
It's badass. Diana Ross, Love Hangover.
Diana Ross. I love that song too.
Lou Rawls, You'll Never Find.
Oh, yes. I love it.
Vicky Sue Robinson, Turn the Beat Around.
That song is still dope.
Fucking dope. Bee Gees, You Should Be Dancing.
Hello. Yes.
Yes. Steve Miller, Take the Money and Run.
That's a good one too.
And my favorite, Blue Oyster Cult, Don't Fear the Reaper.
Dude, I fucking love that song. I still love that song. That's some
More
serious
cowbell.
Oh my God, that's some serious October vibe right there.
Absolutely.
Such a good one. More cowbell. More cow. I've got a fever. And the only cure is more cowbell. It's one of the best skits. It really is. I know what else you're dorking out about, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What else are you dorking out about?
I saw Halloween Kills.
Me too. What did you think?
I thought it stunk.
I also thought it stunk.
Okay, good.
I'm bummed because I actually really a lot of people did not like the 2018 one, and I actually really liked that one. I thought it was good and a very interesting take and about like trauma and things like that. And so I was into the one that came out a few years ago. This one, I just couldn't get into it.
I liked the 2018 one too, and I forgot we had talked about it.
Yeah.
Along with the original. I think you can still find that.
Yes, you can.
You can.
We were gonna, because we were like, let's talk about the original Halloween and Halloween Kills, and I'm watching the original Halloween and I'm taking notes, and I'm like, I feel like I've done this before.
Deja vu. Deja vu.
Deja vu. Deja vu. I went and looked in my notes, and I was like, sure enough, we've already done this episode. I'm like, writing the exact same thoughts a second time. It was hilarious. Anyway, but I did rewatch the original and rewatch this one, and I've been on like a Halloween kick lately and watching, like, I watched like 4, 5, and 6, which don't tie to Halloween Kills at all. I've just been watching Michael Myers movies, and by Michael Myers I mean the killer, not Wayne's World.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, not that one. And this one, I was just, there were parts of it I liked. Like, I was excited that Anthony Michael Hall was in there.
Yes.
You know,
I like Anthony Michael Hall. I hope he's getting his shit together. I know he has issues. Yeah.
Like, I was excited to see him. I actually think he's really good in this. I don't like the character, but I think he's good in the role. And anything where I get to spend time with Judy Greer, I'm stoked. And I really like that, but I just didn't like where it went. I
understand. Some people are getting snotty on Twitter and like, well, I guess you just don't like slasher movies.
No,
I'm like, that's not the problem.
No.
It's like, I get it. I mean, there is a difference between horror and slasher for sure. But I feel like, especially the better Halloween movies, they're about suspense and they're about setting the mood and setting up scaring the shit out of you. Like, that's all a part of it. This movie, it's just like they just kill people just wantonly with like no thought, with no, I mean, they bring back the original nurse from the first one.
Yeah.
And they just kill her right away. They bring in Lenny Clark.
Yeah.
He's like a character actor now. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. He's a funny guy. They just spoilers.
Yeah.
But they just off him. I mean, there's just several people that they just it's bad. It's like, it's so, there's nothing cohesive about it. Everything that takes place at the hospital, like the hospital's in disarray.
Yeah.
I had a hard time keeping that tracked up. I can't remember if Kyle Richards dies or not. She's good.
Yeah.
In the part, but it's just like they bring back all these people from the first one, which I normally really love.
Yes.
I like that nod to the original.
Yes.
But I don't think they knew what to do with people. And the dialogue is so bad. It's
Yes.
so, by the way, this movie was filmed over a year ago.
Yeah.
They had time to write new things, to loop in new things or film some new things to make it more cohesive. It's just a jumbled mess.
Yeah. I understand what they were trying to do. I get it. There's this whole like mob justice thing going on and about like the greater good and evil dies tonight and they're doing their chanting and all that stuff. Like, I'm not like, I get it, but like, it just didn't work for me. And like you said, the movie's really jumbled and I'm like, what stories are you telling here? Like, what is the story? And there seems like there's a bunch of different stories going on, but it's not told in a way that makes sense. Because then we have like Will Patton is in here, and I like Will Patton very much. And they're like, hey, remember him? Remember him from 2018? Remember? So like there's some stuff with him. Then it goes back to 1978. Now we're back to 2018 again. We have Jamie Lee Curtis. She's in a hospital bed, like unconscious for like more than half of the movie. Like Judy Greer's running around, like doing some things. Her teenage daughter is running around doing some things. Her character's very annoying to me. Who's making bad teenager decisions, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot of characters that are introduced only to have them murdered. Sorry, spoilers. And I'm like, why? I don't understand. The movie feels ugly.
Yes.
And mean.
Yes.
And it's not like, I know that like slashers aren't supposed to be like, well, gee, Sonia, you're not supposed to feel super good when you're watching a slasher movie. But it's just, it felt nasty.
It has no sense of humor either. It's just, it's like what makes the Scream movies great. We'll talk about Scream next time, but like there's this humor to build to help punctuate the tension and kind of give you a break. In this one, it was just like, well, who gets stabbed here? It's or a shot or whatever. I mean, I say this on my other podcast, but I wanted Leonardo DiCaprio to show up with that gun that's like the fire thing, because people are there with baseball bats to a Michael Myers fight. I'm like, you're asking to get your ass kicked.
Yeah. You brought a baseball bat to a Michael Myers fight.
I mean, come on. I wanted Leonardo DiCaprio with that, you know what I mean?
His giant flamethrower from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, it's
dope.
it just felt ugly. And like I said, it was introducing characters only so that they could add to the body count. The characters didn't add to the story. Right. It was just, we need more people to murder. So we're going to introduce these people in a bar on a karaoke night or something that have nothing to do with anything and have them murder. It's really weird. Like, I just don't understand it. And then I will say this about a lot of the Halloween movies, especially like when we get to like 4, 5, and 6, which once again, I know timeline wise don't relate. Halloween doesn't give a fuck about killing characters that you like. I don't want to spoil the end of Halloween Kills for people, but the entire series has been like that. If you survive one of the other movies, you will probably be murdered right away in the next one. And it continues that trend. And I guess I just don't like that trend. It's like it shits all over the goodwill you built up for that person from the movie previous. And that frustrated me. I just didn't like it. Like, I don't think I'll go back and watch it like I would the 2018 one.
I totally agree.
I was disappointed.
As I said, you bring in Lenny Clark, and then he's, play a cranky older guy, and then he has an African-American wife, and they're kind of like, what's going on here?
And once again, why?
Why? They just stab them in the throat? Why?
They're not connected, as far as I can tell, to anyone else in the movie. It's just to add to the body count. It doesn't work for it. And I know, like, once again, there's people online who super are enjoying it and they like it, and that's great. I wish I liked it because I liked the other one so much. and I'll totally see the next one. It won't stop me. I'll still see Halloween Ends or whatever the fuck they're calling it.
Well, people say things like, because there's going to be a next one. There is, it's a trilogy.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's setting you up for that. Like, I don't watch a movie to be set up for something.
Yes, exactly.
It should work on its own.
Exactly. Like the Lord of the Rings movies, the middle movie is The Two Towers. That's my favorite of those ones. It is setting up a third one, but it's great on its own. Empire Strikes Back, great.
I was going to say, Empire Strikes Back.
On its own. Like, it can't just be a setup. It's got to be more than that. I was disappointed.
Yeah, I was too.
But like I said, I'll still watch the next one. So
yeah, we'll talk about this in a couple of years.
Yeah. We'll talk about the original Halloween again.
We'll talk about Carrie again. We'll totally forget what we said this time.
I have this idea in our head now. It's like 80-year-old Sonia and Margo still recording Dorking Out. And it's like, remember Carrie? Remember? I would do it. There's I think next week we're going to do Scream. Right? Is that what we decided? Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then I'll try to get a couple of the other Scream movies in there too. So I can't commit to watching every single Scream, but I bet I could get through some of them before our next recording. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, totally.
Where can people find you on the internet, Margo?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fit Chick, and that's for Twitter and Instagram. And my site is brooklynfitchick.com.
And if you like the sound of our voices, and I'm sure you do because you're not a monster, we are also co-hosting a podcast called What a Creep, where we talk about a creep and then we end the episode with someone who's not a creep. Our episode out right now is about James Franco and Casey Affleck and the possible road to redemption for creeps. Mm-hmm. I said creeks. Why not? It's a good one. Join us. Yeah. You can find Dorking Out at dorkingoutshow.com and Dorking Out Show on Twitter. And you could go to the Facebook page, but it's not very active because I don't really like Facebook. I only go to Facebook for the What a Creep group. It's a secret group. If you want to join, you can join. There's some dorks in there. And you can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok, where I'm there to ruin it for the young people and murder them if they tease me with my mind.
Creepy Sonia, creepy Sonia.